some of you guys may know, these are some of the most well-known video games of our time. One is a fast-paced FPS game, the other is a cultural melting pot, another is a social deduction blame game, and the last one is just a really cool online battle arena. All of these games are of entirely different genres, all with their own unique style of gameplay, and yet, there is one thing that they all have in common. What is it about these video games that elevate them to a whole other echelon from just being labeled as a popular game? Well, all of these games in one way or another have all
reshaping culture.
What separates a game from a new big game? What separates your flavor of the month to a perennial game that is cultural defining? I also say cultural defining because these types of video games also have an everlasting impact on not just the gaming industry, but streaming culture, global culture. First, we need to establish 3 main talking points.
1. What separates a new game from the next new big game?
2, the impact these new big games can have on streaming culture, very big one. And 3, the impact these new big games can have on the gaming industry as a whole. Somebody count all the times I've said new big games. It's gonna be a lot.
For this category, I would like to point out the difference between the next new big game and a new game that has come out. You see, when I'm talking about the idea of the next new big game, I'm referring to video games that are either new or late bloomers that explode and erupt in popularity. So much so that it is trending on every social media that you may encounter. It's on YouTube, people are streaming it on Twitch, people all over the world are streaming it. That sort of new big game. Versus your everyday game that comes out that's technically a new release. The difference here is that, these new games, more often than not, don't pop off. Meaning they don't end up being a big release. They don't end up being a big game. It's a new day. I'll just say that. I now want to address another really big game that's coming out in the future. And I think it's necessary to address this when talking about the next new big game. GTA 6. GTA 6 is coming out this year in 2026. Isn't that right, Rockstar? No more delays. That should better come out. GTA 6 will be one of the next big games to come out in recent memory. Probably the most anticipated game of the decade so far. However, there's the key difference between this upcoming new GTA game and the next new big game. Anticipated. Even with a game as big as GTA 6, it does not fit the new big game category that we have already established. All of the anticipation here comes from the fact that they tease the game, obviously, but they also are an established franchise already versus a brand new game that blows up overnight. For this, there is no anticipation, right? For this, there is no anticipation. There is no anticipation for the next new big game because we don't know when the next new big game will come out or will be released. For many, most of them are relatively unknown upon release, until they're discovered in a week or a year or 2 after release, and then astronomically blows up in popularity. And I'd say 1 to 2 years is still pretty new, I'd say. I mean, people will be playing GTA 6 forever, right? I'm sure a year or 2 after GTA 6 releases, people will still be discovering new stuff in the game, I'd imagine.
Gentlemen. Oh, great.
GTA really is its own special phenomenon. This game has already been teased a bunch and has been very anticipated for a long time, making its return and its inevitable success that will follow make it so that it technically does not fit our new big game category. A brand new or late blooming game that is considered big because it astronomically explodes in popularity after its release date. When GTA 6 releases, it will okay. When GTA 6 releases, it will technically be considered a new game that will be big, but that doesn't mean that it fits our category of being labeled as a new big game. I know it can sound confusing, but it makes sense given the established context of what our category means. Anyway, some people may not be completely excited for the new GTA 6 game, which is completely valid. But do some of you guys remember the reactions that some people had when GTA 6 was first teased?
Like, oh my god, guys, they are just repeating the same open sandbox concept since GTA 3. Why the hell would we pick up Florida as the next location?
I just don't understand why there is so much hype for this game.
Bitch! What?
Fine, you want a T-Rex roar? You assholes will get a T-Rex roar.
In a lot of ways, GTA 5, like many other games, have also been topping the charts and reshaping streaming culture. And while streaming games back in the day with games such as League of Legends and Minecraft popped off, I'd argue it wasn't until the rise of Overwatch and Fortnite when streaming video games became more defined, when it became clear to everyone that with the right game and the right streaming personality, anyone could theoretically make a living off of video games, and I think a lot of it started with these two games and their impact on streaming culture. Speaking of which, it was around the time Overwatch and Fortnite cropped up that I believe is when streaming video games for a living became more defined and solidified. What I mean by this was that around the early to mid 2010s, the whole idea of making money from playing video games was still a very foggy and foreign concept to a lot of regular people. It wasn't a new concept around the time of Overwatch and Fortnite's release, but when these two games in particular came out in the mid to late 2010s, the fog cleared and this foreign concept became clear to everybody. After years of regular people hearing things like, "You can make money from gaming videos on YouTube," to "You can make money from gaming tournaments." And during this time, with the arrival of big streamers
Fuck you say to me?
live streaming these two games in particular to millions of viewers on the internet, I would say is the defining moment when streaming and making money off of video games for a living was accepted by many people to be an actual pursuable career. You could argue that a lot of the impact these new big games have in terms of success can be attributed to streaming culture. It also shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone that the games that changed a lot of the streaming culture years ago are still killing it at the top of the charts today. Sure, these games have their issues here and there, a lot of people moved on, but people are still playing them. There is always a thrill getting up every day waiting patiently for the next big game to arrive to shake up the streaming culture, breaking new grounds, making itself a freshly new fun game to play, and watching everyone stream and play them. Breaking new grounds, make it itself a freshly new fun game to play, and watching everyone stream and play them. Thanks to big games like Fortnite, Overwatch, Among Us, League of Legends, and many more obviously, they have paved the way for more viewership in the streaming culture, and in return creates a lot of opportunities for people, creating a cycle of new content creators for every new big game, new viewership, more and more exposure throughout the world, which helps everyone and their mama partake in such a gaming event. Now let's hark back to what I was talking about earlier. Remember all of these games were cultural shifting? Well, I think I see way too many people throw this term around too lightly. For example, oh, hey, it's these two. Not only did these titles in particular forever establish their respective genres as household names, Fortnite with Battle Royale, Overwatch with the hero shooter genre, but they also reshaped streaming culture and redefined what it means to play games for a living. Now, I am just using these games as an example, but there are obviously more big games like these. League of Legends, for example, very recently hosted the biggest and most watched gaming event ever 2 years ago in 2024, where they ranked in over like 6 million viewers or some shit. Now, if you include Chinese viewership, oh, those numbers may be even higher, considering the massive amounts of League of Legends fans from China. As many of you guys may know, China has their own Google, their own YouTube, so it may be hard to measure out the exact numbers, but just know that it's a lot. Now, as someone who has never really delved into League of Legends like that before and has only really seen Arcane, like every other gamer, I always heard about League of Legends tournaments, but as I was researching more and more for this video into the sheer impact it had on gaming culture, I severely underestimated just how massive this game has impacted the global culture, specifically esports. Using China as an example again, during its finals last year alone, the viewership was almost on par with a lot of other global sporting events like the NBA Finals. If we compare it to 2025's NBA Finals, in Game 2 of the NBA Finals, it peaked at around 8.76 million views. The fact that viewership for esports is ever growing tells us that we are entering a society. In fact, we have already entered a society where gaming events can be as big and on par with other global events in the world. And a lot of that process to get where we are today with esports couldn't have been done without League of Legends and that constant new arrivals of new big games that can shake up the gaming industry as a whole. From inspiring many other AAA devs, indie devs, to establishing new genres, to evolving and expanding the limits of video games as a medium, the arrivals of these games, along with the arrivals of games yet to come, will always help excel and inspire the gaming industry as a whole. The world can now respect gaming as a form of art and as a medium that can create careers and compete on par with some of the biggest global events in the world. Thanks for watching.
So before you let me go,